Good afternoon, Architect Azizul, Architect Mirzam, and Architect Go Hui. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you are, I hope you guys are well. Welcome to Beyond Tomorrow Roundtable Discussion Session, organized by Malaysian Architecture Student Alliance, or MASA, and supported by PAM Education Committee. So what is the future of architecture and how it shapes the future lives? Our populations are growing rapidly. The demand for sustainable lifestyles are increasing. In contrast, the natural resources are depleting at a fastest pace than before. There are some recent architectural breakthroughs which provides us with reasons to get excited about our future living environment as it's influenced our community and quality of life. We should be preparing for the future generations to shape their perspective about architecture. So what can we do as an architecture for the future? Share your thoughts and with us now on our team Beyond Tomorrow to explore the future. My name is Guma Sylvester, a MASA representative and a Part 1 graduate, and I'll be your co-moderator for today. First of all, I would like to thank Archidex 2021 for giving us an opportunity to conduct this session. We are pleased to have this collaboration with Archidex. To begin with, let's welcome our moderator, Architect Go Hui. Architect Hui, together with Architect Mike Boone and David Boone, are the directors of Architect JFN, an architectural firm based in Kuching. Constantly re-evaluating their roles as architects in society, they strive to deliver simple and practical solutions and pride themselves with cross-disciplinary collaboration and experimentative designs. Hui believes in tremendous value in engaging the wider community in the process of making the environment a better place. Hi, Architect Hui, are you there today?
Hi, Guma.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm very great. Can't wait to start the discussion.
Great. Nice to meet you again. All right, cool. So I will pass the floor to you now.
Thanks, Guma. Hi, everyone. I am Architect Hui. I'm the moderator for today's sessions. So together with us, I'm really honored to be moderating this session together with 2 speakers and 20 participants. And also to the benefit of our viewers online, I will just, before I give an introduction of our speaker today, I'll give you a quick flow of our program today. So we will have 2 speakers who will be presenting their topics, and then we will join by 20 participants to discuss on the topics that we are touching today. And lastly, we will open up to the Q&A session to our viewers. So if you have any questions during the sharing, just type them down in our chat box and we will attend to them in the end of the session. All right, so first of all, I would like to introduce Architect Azizul Azwar bin Abdul Aziz. Architect Azizul is a principal of Azizul Azwar Architect, a managing partner of Trans-Regional Architecture Group and director of IPM Professional Service Sdn Bhd. After graduating from UTM Skudai in 2007, he has been wearing various hats from consultants, JKR, developer, and PMC. In 2018, Architect Azizul started his architecture consultancy service practices, and he is one of the very few architects who provide service of 3D data capture using advanced photogrammetry, and laser scan to accurately measure a building structures. So today he is going to share about this technology, which is more starting to use in more commonly used in oil and gas industry, and how to adapt and introduce it in the construction industry. For our second speaker, Architect Mirzam bin Taiman, he is the principal architect of Mirzam Taiman Architect MTA and Revit Architecture Certified Professional. He has his own sole proprietor firm, MTA, a partnership firm called TAG, and BIM-related companies named DDS and Malhas Group. He is passionate in business, art, architecture, 3D printing, and building information modeling. His involvement in BIM started since 2012, and previously he has worked in a private architecture firm and JKR as an architect, a BIM modeler, as well as a tutor for JKR BIM training sessions. He also conducted several Revit tutorial sessions for architect firms, universities, and individuals for both local and overseas. Architect Mirzam who was appointed as an architecture industry advisor for local college, and soon he will be also in polytechnic. So I think these are our two great speakers. So I would like to invite our first speaker, Architect Azizu, to start presenting his topic today. Hi, Architect Azizu.
Hi, Architect Zuhi. Thank you for having me here and for generous introductions. And hi, everyone. My name is Azizul. You may call me Azizul or Azwa. For those who know me, so they call me on different names. But then for today's session, you may address me Azizul. All right. Anyway, well, I'm going to share. First of all, I would like to thank Masa and Pam for giving me this platform today for me to share some of the few technologies that are being implemented or re-implemented in some of the projects. And I'm so happy that I have this platform that I can share with future architects in the future. I think it's something that is a good steps, I think. So I hope you guys can benefit from what I'm sharing today. Let me share my slides. All right. So the topic is actually what we're going to share. It's actually the future of the conducting site inspections using 3D SBIT data capture. So when I say it's future, it's not really new industry. Basically, it's quite it's been industry for quite some time. Actually, the data capture has been used for oil and gas for about 10 to 15 years, but somehow it's quite new how architecture or building industry started to use the technology in managing projects, in collecting data, in measure buildings, and so on. So I hope this movement or this small step of us can benefit the architecture community in a bit. Right. So basically, how the 3D data capture is actually being involved in construction industry, because, like I said, it was in the industry for quite some time already. But then when the pandemic came, so somehow it's triggered the people see the benefit of using it more and more, right? At that time, before the pandemic, it was like something that is good to have, right? So we hope that after the pandemic and after we use a certain project and several projects, after we expose it to certain clients, that I hope that people see that it's not something that is good to have, it's something that you must have for a project. So giving you some scenarios, for example, when you have a client who wanted to do a site visit during pandemic, or when you have a quantity surveyor need to verify site progress for payment verifications, or either if you are a project manager looking for site evaluation to assess for EOT and somehow, or you are a facility management manager wanted to evaluate and plan for maintenance. So you can't be doing that. Or maybe there you have like certain restrictions or certain movement restrictions. We have some clients who are working project working in Malaysia, but you have clients from overseas, but then you want to present or to show the progress of the project to your client as if he was there. So this is actually what we call a VS, virtual site visit solutions. So it was digitalize the building and plan your next call to action and the convenience of the means that your clients actually or the one who are viewing the project or is actually stay at home. It's like what you are doing right now. So I'm going to start with some of the projects that we did actually. All right. So this is small projects. Actually, I can say this is our first project we did using the data capture. Right, this is actually the building need to obtain a fire certificate from Fire Rescue Department, which is for Bomber, and local council PBT. So to obtain the operation fitness assessment. So what we did essentially, we did a pre-assessment using the virtual site visit solutions, or what we call it 3D data capture. So for a building for about this size, we have about 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of two-story building. It's a complex building. It's quite big. So normally we took about say 3 to 4 days and then we have sometimes we are missing certain parts and we have to come back and reassess, or we have to travel quite some time to get the data, to confirm the sizes, things like that. So for this particular project, what we did, we only took 3 days and we don't have to go back anymore to just measure the size and things like that. So 3D data capture is something like this. What I'm going to share to you is actually how the output of the data capture will look like. So it's actually assuming that you are my client, right? So I'm going to present to you. So this is what the building is like. So it's like a walkthrough inside building, right? So we show it to the client. What do we have at site? This is actually a completed project. But when we capture the data in the progressive site progress, say for example, this part of building hasn't been plastered yet, or we haven't put paint yet, so we can see that. So for this particular month, this area have not plastered yet. So for the next month, we can see the progress. So it's easy for a client or QS to evaluate if we want to certify the progress payment and so on. For example, I'm going to show it to you as simple. But if you can see here, this is actually the green carpet, right? So the next day, and then we stop the progress at a certain date. And then the next day, the next week, you can see the carpet is red. We don't change it. We just want to share with you that it's actually, this data was captured in 1 week gap, right? So you can see the differences of the carpet in this particular area. So you know, okay, in 1 week they completed the carpet installations, then you know how much you can pay. Then you know that you can already pay your contractor in that sense, right? So this is one of the output that we the value of the output that we can produce to the QS on the team. So the data capture is, the output is something like that. You can have a dollhouse view, right? You can rotate. It's really what we call it light platform. You don't have to install anything. You just open the link, click the link, and then you can open through your phone or laptop without using any other platform, install any other software, right? So we can go either we want to decide to go to second floor, and we can straight away get inside to the building as if you are measuring the sites. All right. So if you go to the first floor, for example. So, like I said, when you are capturing your data, when you are missing certain points, sometimes you miss, for example, how many ring inside for this column. So, yeah, you have but you forgot to capture how high is the each between of the ring. You can always get the picture and you just measure it. For example, let's do some tests. So this tile is actually 1 feet. So we can measure the tile and we get 1 feet. So that's how we measure the data. For this particular project is for sampling only. We don't take detailed data, right? If you go for detailed data, we're using a high resolution camera, it's higher spec. So we can get more accurate information for this particular project. We just for something only, right? So this is actually one of the things that we do. So right. So this second project what I'm going to share with you today is actually it's a confined space in oil and gas industry. For example, for this particular project, we have to conduct cleaning services. The contractor have to conduct cleaning services for a confined space. But then the client wanted to see, is it really clean, right? So the confined space is not, or we call it, not really safe for everyone to enter. It's dangerous. So, and then you have to have certain license or equipped with certain equipment before you can enter the place. So we enter the place, get the data before and after the cleaning services have been done. So this is how we call it blasting. The cleaning, we call it blasting. Right. So this is actually how the building looks like before it was cleaned. Right. So you can see the dust in gray area, gray dust like that. So when we right. So we can link the two scenario before and after the blasting. So this is how it looks after the blasting services, cleaning services been done. So so if you're familiar with the services, then you understand it looks a bit different, right? So this is what we show to the client. We can show either we want to show how many kilo or dust have been dust out from the area. So we can link with the video. Right. Okay. So that is how we share to the clients the progress of the project. Like that. All right. So basically, another sample. Basically, I'm not going to share the link of the video, but it's quite the same. But when we measure pipes of the M&E room, for example, for this particular project, the client don't really have as-built data. So when we came in because it need to be done quite fast to get the data quite fast, to produce a drawing quite fast, and they have engaged previous consultants to advise them how long do they need to get the data to measure the sites and to produce a drawing. So the previous consultant advised they can do it in about 1 week only. So 1 week to get all the sizes of the pipes, not just pipe, also of the bolt and nut, and the sizes of the how it shows how the pipe run through, something like that. So but somehow 1 week is too long for them. So they engage us, and do you guess how long we took the data, and we don't have to come back again? Just 2 hours. So we went to the site, we captured the data for 2 hours, and then we go back, and then we start producing the 3D drawings from here, right? So basically, that's how 3D data capture is. It's actually it will put whatever methodology which was used back then into obsolete, right? So why we try to engage in the technology, because the challenges of the previous method, which is data accuracy, is not that accurate, the time constraint, exposure to health risks, especially during the COVID, and of course, the oil and gas is actually we try to avoid non-skilled people to went to site without full protection or understand how or train what they should go about in the site. And we want to reduce the missing data, and of course, we want to have a lesser manpower, right? So yeah. So what need to be improved here? Basically, what we're going to the improvement is actually to reduce durations, to reduce manpower, and the client or whoever who want to review will have live feed info. And we're going to improve the accuracy of data capture, and it can be accessible faster to anyone who we want to give the access. And then, of course, we're going to reduce mistake, because from the data, we're going to draw exactly how it looks like. I'm going to show you a bit of the image of how it will be imposed. So as with the accuracy, these are actually some of the equipment that are being used. I think some of you have seen the camera, advanced photogrammetry, or drone, or total station, or radio topography. Also, we have 3D laser scanner. What most of that I'm using is actually advanced photogrammetry and 3D laser scanner. So because of the purpose that we use actually to capture the data, We don't need to go above the building. Sometimes we don't need to go above building. We can actually capture using just 3D laser scanner. So from that scanner, they can predict, or they can model what's on the roof. So we just use that 2 scanner only. But for the challenging sites, for like stadium, things like that, so we use the drone for the data capture. So how it was done, basically, first we will go to the site and we capture the data. All right, so we will upload into the cloud. And then from the cloud, we will extract the data. The data is actually in terms of, it's like you go a Google Street, right? So you can walk through this building. So when we capture, it will be stitched together and produce a 3D environment inside the cloud. So we will trace the data, the building, the elements, because the element is actually in XYZ kind of angle. So we can trace it and produce data, and then we upload back to the cloud, and the client, while flying, he can view the whatever information that you want to see. They can they can view the 3D data, or they can view the model data that we upload into the cloud. So basically, that's how it was done, that we are doing it. Right, so most of the project that I share here is actually oil and gas projects, because actually we want to share with you how accurate the data can be produced or we can capture using the technology. So this one of the is actually in Hong Kong. All right, so those are the dots. On the far left, actually on the Google Earth image. On the second image, actually the data we captured. The gray area is somewhere we don't go, so we don't have the data. So it's not necessary to have the data. And from there, we superimpose the data we capture into a 3D that we produce, yellow and green. You can see the green line. So here is actually the final product of the 3D data that need to be produced or need to be shared to the client. Right. So this is what the VSVS is all about. We can get accurate site info. We easy to mobilize the data, and processing is quite fast actually. And the report, how we produce the report, is actually depend on how operator want to use it. We can create a walkthrough. We can compile. We can review with clients using the what we call it, VR camera specs, things like that. And we can have like survey report, 3D model, see report based on this thing, or 2D SB drawing. It can be produced in any way. So it's actually a power what you call it, tools or equipment that you can use to enhance your skills, your service to your client. Right, for this, actually some of the deliverables we can produce. We can give 3D models, overlay with the what we call it, existing buildings and also the new design. We can produce 2D engineering documents, which is all architecture drawings, right? And then engineering report or architecture report or building report. So here on the far left is actually one of the data that we captured and reproduce the drawings. While on oil and gas, because oil and gas actually they have this what we call it, monthly or quarterly checking. So they have to check the pipes. Is it still in order? Is there any additional pipes? So is there any loss of what we call it, oil along the way, the leakage, things like that, right? So they have to constantly produce SBIT. So because when they created a new pipeline, nobody know about it. All right. Sometimes no one knows about it, right? So when they went to site, okay, why there's another pipe here? So that's why they need to still constantly use it. That's why the 3D capture is quite handy for them. So on the right side, you can see the images on the green, and then you can see some of the actually on the red and black. So what does it mean? Basically, what it's actually the red or the dark is actually a dent in the wall of the silo. So that's is actually a really accurate, powerful tool, because the client can identify is there any leakage of the buildings, so it can detect that. What we're detecting is actually a physical conditions of the buildings, not like gas leakage. We need different tools for that. So for construction stage, how the data will the 3D data capture will benefit the construction stage. Actually, we can have a phase-by-phase development monitoring report. So you can produce a report during a monthly using. So you went to the site, you capture the data, and then you produce the actual current conditions of the site. So next month you capture the data. So when you have a client that or a contractor who argue with you how much you should pay them, so you can prove them. So this is what you've done last month. So this one, this is what you've done this month. So these are the differences that you should be paid. So it's actually a phase-by-phase monitoring report. You can provide retrofitting or design change or fabrications, or you can have the national control survey of the site. So during the operation stage, we have a maintenance plan and demolition. Before you demolish a building, you can plan. You can identify what type of screw that you're going to use later on, what type of equipment or machine that you're going to use for demolish a building. It also can be used for fire and hazardous simulations. I'm going to show you in a bit. And turnaround modification activities. So basically, you can assist your team for effective TA planning. So here there are some views that I want to share with you. All right, for this one, I can't make it bigger. You can see. So actually, when we capture the data, we can simulate how the operator must go to the site. So the red line is actually their storyline. So this is where and how they should enter the site. So for example, when you have a hazardous site and you want to invite some VIP to come in, so you can use this, or this is where you will bring him, so he shall not go anywhere else. So this is the projections. So it's like playing games, yes, but then we create the storylines there. So the actual site should be something like that. All right. Okay, I will end my session with these two powerful images. I think most of you have seen it, but it's good to share again. So during the period of change, the biggest fortunes the world made, and in just 10 years, cameraman and pilot both lost their jobs. So we have to upgrade ourselves. We have to understand the machines and understand how to manipulate it for our benefit in the future. All right, I think I end up my session. Hopefully, I didn't overshoot too much.
Thanks, Architect Azizul. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Architect Mizam to share his slide. Then we will have a roundtable discussion. I can see a lot of exciting questions that I have, and of course, all our participants. So we will save it later. Architect Mizam, are you ready to present?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
All right.
Can you hear?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you for inviting me for this session. Thank you for our moderator, Jihui, okay, and the rest of participants. So I will like to share my slide here. This one is a good platform to share our knowledge and expert regarding the technologies and to help and to bring awareness for those architects in about current technologies. Okay. Okay. This one slide. Okay. Let me start with the slide. Okay. This one, the title is about BIM, beyond BIM technologies is more than just a 3D model. Okay. This one I will be guide you through some pictures and my experience after involving in BIM started in 2012 until now. So let me give some introduction here. Okay, actually in this era, 2020 until 2030, this is the digital era where everybody must aware of this. Architect also must maybe architect must take lead in this era in digital platform, because in this digital era we play with data, big data, and then we play with the real time simulation, and then most of construction go for rapid construction. They have several new ideas and revolution in construction in this digital era. Okay, this is the targeted is in this 10 years, okay, until 2030. Okay, what is about BIM? Okay, I will share about, because this is the BIM is building information modeling. This is we are going through in the future, in the near future after this, because this bring more values in our AEC industries. Okay, okay, because this is not just 3D modeling. It's a process of building single model, and then you can develop from programming, conceptual design, detail design, analysis, and so on, until the construction has been done and straight to the operation and maintenance stages. Okay, so this is the cycle of the building information modeling and its technologies involved here. Okay. Okay, BIM can be considered as design, and we design and construct a building in virtually, okay, in computer, in software and tools, okay. We've seen problems in digital and we solve in digital. Okay, this one, we have an architecture model, a structure model, electrical model, and mechanical models, and then we combine into one integrated model to have some integrated BIM model to show the complete buildings, okay, and then this complete model can be used for in design, in coordination, until construction and so on, until operation maintenance after building has been completed. Okay, we can see those services, those structures and architecture model is combined. It looks like finished buildings, but in virtual mode. Okay, another integrated BIM model sample, we can see those services in buildings and all integrated models inside. Okay, those in 3D view, we can see those spaces for clients to understand, because client is layman, they can see what is going on in their buildings. Okay, so it improves their decision making later in design process. Okay, in BIM model, we can also remodel a building virtually from a 3D scan data as big model. This one is a data we capture from previous Azizul Azwa lecture. Okay, we can also, from this data, we can make this data into a 3D model, accurate, based on site measurement. Okay, real-time 3D scan data. So it helps a lot. And then the model is come with information and parametric behavior. It's not a dumb model, it's not a surface model, but it have information and parametric. Okay, once you change design, you have a design changes. A model is parametric, have a parametric design changes where is a component. When you change on plan, it will change updated in elevation section and all views. Okay, because you change the component, not drawing lines. Okay. Okay. Next, BIM model is a component based, not a line based. Okay. So I'm sure some pictures. Because you are modeling a component base, and then you not draw a line for walls, but you model a walls, and then you model a doors, and you put into a certain location to build a building in virtual mode. Okay, but the model have several properties and information with dimension, materials, and its location, really complete data. That's why we call building information models. Okay, This data is really useful in design and then in construction later. Okay, really integrated. And then this is the phases of design development of the model. Before we going into the detail, we start from the concept and then we call it in LOD, 100, 200, 300, or 400 until 600. The model keep changing the parametric and the information data inside the model instead of a geometry. Okay. Okay, we can improve site inspection and decision making using a single model that we have done from the integrated models. Okay, as our previous project, we were doing this kind of exercise. B model, we open a overview of B model in a iPad. Okay, and then we go to site visit and we look at the progress of the project, and then we can mark and see whether the model, the building is built according to the models or any discrepancies happen that we can detect, and later on we can discuss and prepare or give a decision on what we are going to do after this on the meeting. Okay, and then this is the integrated BIM model we use in a on-site meeting. We use a 3D model view in every meetings. Okay, so everybody understand what is their route, and then what is their locations instead of we review in 2D modes. Okay, we can avoid adjust on-site situations because we have a virtual model. We can adjust in virtual mode rather than adjust on-site to keep less wastage and then to make less reworks on-site. Okay, we can avoid silly mistake like this. Okay, because in B model we have X, Y, Z value, we have height value, then we can avoid these situations. Okay, then the situation is like the gym area is less headroom, and then they cannot exercise in the proper space. Okay, okay, so I'm sharing some values of this technology. Okay, what we have to do, you have a single B model, but you can elaborate more. You have more with this single B model. You can have 3D, 4D, and 5D elements. Where 3D is you can do for design, production, visualization. AEC is architecture, engineering, construction coordination. Okay, and then clash detection, as well as from model we can produce, generate drawings and documentation. And then going to 4D, the model can be used for energy analysis. And then for costing, for QS, it helps QS a lot because they can do in model, we can do material take-off from the components easy. And then into 5D, more into construction simulation and project monitoring. We can visualize for the construction simulation, we can visualize site logistic and so on. Okay, some overview, we can have B models, and then you can plan and design, you can have visualization for presentation, you can have drawings and documentations, and then you can do a costing from a schedule generated from the models, and then you can have an energy analysis model from that single B model. Okay, another sample of our projects, plan and design, visualization, drawing, same repeat routines and same objective. And then until construction and completion, the building is completed same as the model that we have done. Okay, it helps contractors to visualize during construction. Okay, so visualization, this one is the most crucial in early stage. We start from a concept, and then this is the development of the models. Okay, we must going through these stages before we are going into detailed model, concept, schematic, detail, and then the construction, as built, and operation maintenance. This is the flow. The model is like the same along the way, construction until operation, but the data is more informative and more to get more data and more variable of data inside the models. Okay, we can have some meshing form, custom made. You can explore on the meshing form using the software, and then you can develop the building forms. Okay, from the concept you can develop until detail design with information, and with the help of this model, you can have also rendering animation within the single model. Okay, this is an interesting part. Beside a building model, you can do 3D site modeling from 2D drawing survey plan, because your 2D drawing survey plan, you have level data, and then you can export and generate into a 3D site modeling like this. Okay, you can have the surface, the 3D site model from survey plan 2D drawing. The software capture the data, and then you can get the high and low level of contours. Okay, then after that you can set the platform in 3D model view. And this is very helpful for architects in doing a site plans. Okay, and then you can decide where you want to put a cut and fill area, and then so on. And then for coordination, okay, I give some scenario, this architecture model, and then we can combine into with the architecture and structure model for for our proposal here. So this one is normal architecture and structure model we combine, but the interesting part is you can also plug in your design and model into a virtual site. This one using Autodesk InfraWorks. This one, some of the location in Malaysia has been captured real time in this software, so you can plug your design like it is already on site in virtual. Okay, this coming to another integrated models, architecture, CNS, and MEP. This one is a high-rise building office, our previous experience in projects. Okay, this one is for your presentation. You can have also in perspective that you can have a watermark view of another ceiling levels, and you you can see those things going on with the MEP models inside. Okay, okay, this one is good for clashes and discrepancies detection. You can reduce conflicts and reworks as construction site. Okay, because in model you can see those clashes. Okay, and then it helps in you can repair it in virtual mode before casting on site, and then it helps a lot. Okay, supposedly from 3D you can produce drawings. Okay, 3D to 2D modes. Then architect no need to revert back to AutoCAD to prepare your drawings and documentation. Okay, from the models. So the quality of 2D drawing is very good. Okay, you can have a detail like in AutoCAD, and you have those quality for submission drawings and detailed drawings, and as well as construction drawing later. It's good for the line weight is so good, and then the printing is also good and very sharp. Okay, this is what we developed from those single models in developing the drawings. Okay, this is a sample of one submission drawings with the color code in detail. Okay, one more thing is for hospital and clinic project, we can also develop really integrated room data for our drawings. We have those integrated models. We focus on one area, and then we have actually all placed in one room. Then you turn into every four-wall view. You can have those view of your family's components without you drawing it back. Okay, you can have those 3D, and then the model can in BIM you can have the quantities of equipment in your rooms. Okay, in every rooms. This one our experience using during clinic projects. Okay, for 4D for costing, it helps a lot in costing because you can generate many schedules, and then in area you can calculate, the model can calculate automatically for you, and then this information very helpful in quantity take off later. Beside this area, we can have also the material information, and then as well as the door and windows quantities. So it have very helpful for QS for our costing also. And then come into 5D, the last one. This one is the single model can be used for construction simulation and project monitoring. This one we want to achieve this level. Okay, we still develop in this level. This one we call in 5D visual 5D technology. Okay, we can use for site logistic preparation, where to put your crane, where to put your scaffolding, and then so on, your quarters. And then previously we have also experienced this simulation using a BIM model, where conventional method supposedly we only use the 2D using work program sheet, but in BIM you can combine with your models. Then you can see the model is progressively built within your program model program sheet. Okay, so you can track one by one elements. Okay, we combine, and then you can track whether this day is what is going to be constructed, how many weeks can be done. Okay, and then it starts from the foundation until the top level roof. We can do the simulation for these buildings, for your buildings. Okay, it can be set in real time, calendars and times. Okay, and then we can target also when it will be completed. Beside exterior view, we can also we can do a simulation within the spaces, within the services, MEP services, beside every rooms. Okay, this one another samples of simulation we can do in using one software, Twinmotion. Okay, for 5D sequence of construction phasing. Okay. Okay, this one a real project. We have some our project meeting, site meeting. We using a model. Then we use the data clashes. So we can detect in the computer, and we can solve in construction very easy after that. And then the right view is we scan the spaces, one spaces after it is being constructed during construction, because we want to see the discrepancies or tolerance between BIM models and real buildings that has been constructed on site. Okay, we can see how many tolerance is with their gap tolerance, and then we can solve maybe on site. Okay, after that we use a 3D scan camera. That one is 360 degrees. You can scan overall spaces. Okay, inside the buildings. Okay, this one is a parametric urban uniform. Beside that, building BIM also can do a parametric urban uniform. We have some proposal like this. Okay, some curve like buildings for hotel design, and then we can render it in a proper visual versions. Okay, we can explore some explorative form, mode-based form. So we can propose some skin and a building like this. Okay. Okay, then turn into rapid fabrication, because this single model we can use for fabrication. We have the data, and then this is tentative like this. This will be the trend after this, maybe. Single beam model into one-to-one 3D printing house. You can print from the model. Again, and then this one is an IBS, Industrial Building System panel. From the single beam model, you can print one-to-one wall panels. And then today we can have also one-to-one modular toilets also beside these wall panels. Okay, some tools that I want to share. We use several tools here, which is Archidex, and then there's rendering tools, okay, and Escape Twinmotion, Lumion, and then some Dynamo tools plugin for Revit. Another tools that we are using is like Navisworks is for collision analysis and simulations, and then Insight for you can do energy analysis, and then InfraWorks for CNS scopes, Cloden for pricing and costing, and then another software like Graphisoft and Tekla for another architecture software and engineering software, right? Okay, so that's all on about BIM technology, and just keep calm and adopt BIM. Okay, be happy, right? Don't be afraid of BIM. That it have give value for architect and engineers here. Okay, thank you for this session.
Thank you, Architect Rizal. Thank you for the sharing. And also, after we have listened to both Architect Azizu's and Nizam's presentation, I think to our participants here, this is something quite familiar with all of you. And so I would like to open this to our floor to all our participants. So whoever have any questions or any of your experience that you want to share with us, please raise your hand and open your mic, and I will cue you before you speak. Please do some introduction about yourself. So do we have anyone who would like to start to take questions? Okay, I didn't see any yet, but I think while our participants are preparing, I would like to start by asking both our speakers. I would like to talk about the current situation, especially like Architect Azizu has mentioned about COVID-19, the pandemic situation. So what do you think with this COVID-19 pandemic has changed our architecture field? And both of you who are in the practicing in this 3D scanning and BIM modeling industry, do you see any change or any trends with this COVID-19 pandemic, which are people more receptive with accepting new technologies, or is there what do you see the trends in the practice industry? Architect Azizu.
Okay, thank you, Zigri. Basically, how I see it, actually we have been given the platform for quite some time already. It's just that pandemic is actually is somehow is catalyst for what we have. For example, like what we're doing right now is a Zoom meetings, right? So a virtual site visits that we are having at the moment. It's something that is a catalyst for something that has been there, right? So we tend to make use of it, and so hopefully that the momentum is there. Even though we are at the moment are safe or not with the pandemic or whatsoever, I think the client is open to have virtual meetings or virtual submissions or virtual what we call online drawings or monitoring, something like that. Just that on the implementation part, for us, actually, for consultants, we are open. We have to adapt, right? So we are open if you want to have a meeting with clients. So if they say that they need to have online meetings, so we have to adapt for it. well, we also hope that on the other side of the road, especially like government sectors or authorities, they are open for the change as well, right? Yes, we need to survive, so we adapt. So we hope the government, which at the moment they don't need it, right? So they don't need to change to survive. They are surviving quite well. But then we hope that they are open to change in order to help the ecosystem works very well. So I think that's my take on it.
Yes, I'm agree with you. Architect Mizam, do you have something to share?
Okay. For me, I'm experienced as a consultant. Doing online is being you can have several good values. You have save your time, and then you can more productive, and then you can achieve your target very well. Okay, and then it have some response very good from our clients also to have online meetings because we can concentrate on more on our production after that instead of going face-to-face meetings. So that's our my point of view on this online.
Thank you, Architect Mizam. I also have what I would like to add on from my personal experience. I do have projects which is on construction during the lockdown period. So we personally have problems to accessing on site to go to site to do assessments. So because our project is it was tendered out a few years ago. It was started. We started the project quite a few years ago. So we didn't actually really anticipate this to happen. How we try to adapt now is we are using drone photos, tech photos weekly, and also to document it. I find it really helpful. And also for your BIM, for Architect Mizam, for the introduction of BIM in the industries, especially for, I noticed that you have done a few clinics, I suppose that are government projects. So what do you think the government's position, and are they starting to encouraging more on this, or is there any challenges that you can see at this stage of time?
Okay, for government part, they are encouraging this BIM. Okay, and then they are going into full BIM later on the projects. Okay, because they want to enhance and increase their more excellent deliverables using BIM. Okay, and then because of their needs, so we are consultant need to absorb and need to what you call we need to learn, and then instead of going conventional, we can have BIM as future and more projects with government later. Okay, we need to survive lah. We need to learn and evolve with BIM. Okay, yeah. Okay, learn more.
Yeah, thanks, Architect Mizam. I see Siti is raising her hand. Siti?
Hi, can you hear clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm not really particularly inclined towards this use of my specialization is more in history and theory. I do dabble a bit in bamboo architecture, but not on a large scale. I just wanted to pose a question where bamboo has been in discussion, especially in the Malaysian architectural climate, for quite some time, but because there is no recognized bylaws that allow bamboo construction to legally enter the construction industry, so to say, especially for the fact that it is such a promising alternative, and many other countries have really progressed in that sense. And it's such a shame because Malaysia has extremely high quality bamboo. I just wonder where does this all fit in when other other institutions as well as countries are so progressive and very forward in implementing it in technology as well as Rhino, BIM, and also in research papers. Is there any how do you say windows that are open or doors that are open towards this development in what AR Azizul and AR Mirzam are doing at the moment? Has this area been explored? Because we do want to go to the direction of sustainability. Everyone's extremely familiar with steel, with concrete, with cement, but it would be good to have a change of direction, something a bit fresh in the Malaysian scene.
Architect Azizul, I think this will be quite related to 3D scanning, which is very useful for bamboo architecture, because a lot of details and delicate things which will be very related, and a lot of information that we can't really capture using our normal ways of measuring and normal ways of using rulers to measure. So I think 3D scanning will be a very relevant tool in that. Would you like to elaborate more?
Thank you, Suhi. But basically, hi Bakish. Thank you for the question. I don't think it's best answered by me, because I don't think I don't have this. Just to be honest, I don't really have the skills to no, I don't have what we call it experience to develop the system, or in any way I've been into what we call it authorities hats. Or even though when I was in JK, we did have the opportunity. We did some study on it, but then it was halfway back then when I was in 2012 in JK. So it's quite some time ago. So I think there are few more team that went to do the study on the bamboo research, but I'm not sure how they what we call it convince on the bamboo. I think they met the wrong person. So that's why they don't know how to move forward. It's a shame. Yes, I do agree with you that we all talk about sustainable. We all talk about how to preserve the nature and how to preserve the earth. Then we saw how bad the mountain in Perak being we call it runtuhkan, things like that, Bob. So because one of the reasons is actually us. Actually, we use cement in our building, so it's actually quite necessary for that. Anyway, sorry, Bakish, I'm not in that position to answer you, but I think you know the reasons more than any of us. You're doing that study, so maybe Architect Mizam have the exposure on answering on that, or maybe Zuhi yourself, you know about that, right?
I think on bamboo, I think we can have a new model using bamboo in BIM, custom parametric, because bamboo can be designed so beside the function, and then we have some tremendous design like Bali School and using bamboo. Okay, so parametric. So I think it can use in modeling. Okay. That's from my opinion.
Architect Mizam, have you personally involved in any projects that using BIM to do like some kind of structures like bamboo or timber?
No, timber yes, but bamboo no, not yet.
Yeah, I think this is a door that we can start to look into.
Yeah.
I think Bakish, I think had quite a lot actually. One of the reasons that I know that is hesitant to use bamboo is actually the skeptical point. We are still skeptical of the strength of the bamboo, though we've shown various we call it data on how it was strengthened and can support a roof. It can be structured a wall, structured the whole building, stuff like that. But we are still skeptical of our own research, right? So I think that's where we fall apart. in the implementing the bamboo. I think Bakish know more lah, actually.
I think what AR Azizul is saying is actually really correct, because there is this misconception where people think that bamboo is the answer to everything, but before you actually want to explore into this material, you have to understand that it does have certain weaknesses that needs to be addressed, such as it cannot be built directly on ground. It has to sit on something due to the nature of it, because it is a natural material and it will rot. But I think, once all of this is laid out, there's so much opportunities to explore. What I find that is, quite a shame is that we have a lot of architect counterparts that come from a country that doesn't even have bamboo, but are very aggressive in exploring that and doing a lot of collaboration with one of the most progressive schools like ITB, Institute Technology Bandung, where AA and ITB, they have their yearly workshops, which I have fortunately been invited to as a guest panel from time to time. But I really wish there would be more representation from our part. There is also a Persatuan Malaysian Bamboo Association, which maybe you guys could get in contact with, because not to say that this might sound very offensive, but the makeup of the society is mostly the older generation, and then the approach and how they want to build is very traditional. Whereas if there were, younger people who shows interest, who have this the knowledge the knowledge with technology, it would be great to see them penetrate this society, for example. So yeah, if anyone wants to get in contact with that, I would really be happy to direct people there.
Thanks, Siti.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Do you have anything to add on? If not, I saw Caleb. All right, Caleb.
Yeah, I have one question for each speaker. First of all, to Architect Azizul, I'm Caleb Ong. So I'd like to ask, regarding the site inspection, would there be any way that level of exploration able to be shared with the public, to the end user rather than a developer? Have it been done yet? So rather than site inspection for architects or our fellow worker, I just wonder why not allow the end user to participate? Have it been done yet, or is there any limitation?
All right, thank you, Caleb. Yes, actually, once we collect the data, it's actually it's like we create an account in the cloud, so that link can be shared to anyone who we want to share, or basically who pays us actually most of the time. So if the client pays, so they want to see the data, so we forward the link to them. But we do have some projects we did for trial versions. We did some for JKR, we did some for Rumah Tangsi. So we do share it for free, so people can walk through the buildings. Of course, the shared through the Tangsi itself. And then the purpose is quite different, so you can't measure the building or such, but the detail of the data were collected will be different compared to the extensive data, right? So, and because of the purpose and the necessity of the information shared, we don't want people to start to measure themselves, right? For example, the stairs should be like 1.2 meters, but somehow it's actually 900, right? So we don't want that happen later on. So when it comes to public, it has we are a bit controlled there. So when we share, there will be certain level of data will be shared to the end user. But when we share, for example, the one where we did for Tahfiz, quite a lot actually. At the moment we have about for building we have about 30 30 projects that we collect data. Then we have, of course, oil and gas industry. I think it's more than about 100 plus, right? So that data is shared to those people who need to view it, and then of course we cannot share it somewhere else that because it has some sensitive information on the site, right? So how we control it? We can set like a password. So those who want to open the link, they have to give the password, then they can open it. Or if want to open to public, so we can set it's open, so they don't have to what we call it key in any password whatsoever. They can just link and get open it. The one that I shared just now is actually a public link. If I give you the link, so you can open to your phone, you can see what's inside there. You can walk through throughout the buildings, something like that.
Yeah,
I think I hope they answer you.
Yeah. Seems to have some potential for some virtual exploration for other sites. And another question for Architect Mirzam is regarding, I think going through the presentation, what would be the actual benefit to the end user as well for the BIM system? Because I don't think, I imagine there will be some certain benefit of cost saving or construction time reduction, or you like to elaborate more on the benefits to the end user? Because I think the main features presented are more towards the architect user rather than the end user. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, for end user, from our experience, is more on give good visualizations. Okay, instead of the model, you can view in another platform. For end user, they can also view. There's one software for free viewing for end user. Okay, instead for the BIM models, so that they can view their projects online or through their handphone. Okay, and then they can go through. They can experience more on visualization. Okay. And then of course we can also I think from our experience, I think we can give them more visualization in their projects. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think also one of the advantages from the site that you show is also the end user, who it depends on who is the end user, but in some case, when the end user is also the owner who's built the building, who commissioned to build the building, they actually can get the model to use it as a facility management. Am I correct?
Yeah. That one is one more about another values. Yeah. Correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Architect Mirzam. Thanks. Next, Yvonne.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank the committee for inviting me here today. And thank you, Architect Azizul and Architect Mirzam, for your presentation. I have questions for both of you. So the first one, I will direct it to Architect Azizul. So this is like a very commercial question. Can I know like how much does it cost to hire you guys to like do this kind of 3D scanning?
How much the equipment to scanning, or how much we charge our client?
Yeah, how much you charge?
Okay, all right. It's quite of subjective questions. Subjective answer basically is depend on the client itself, because the data capture, the services is not really set by controlled by the skill or minimum fees of architects using the technologies. We do have measurements, site investigations to basis, which is dictated by the skill of minimum fees, but not in this using this platform. All right. So it depends on the accuracy of the building or the data that the client wants us to collect. For example, for the toughest one, for the normal buildings, when we what we call it collect the data, we don't have to go into every corner of the buildings to produce the drawings, right? So the number of the point will be different. We charge basically based on the how many setup camera that we need to do. All right. So if we have more setup, we get more accurate, and we will charge more. If we have less setup, so we have less accuracy, then we charge less lah. All right, something like that. So per points, how much we per points is actually depend. For interior and exterior is quite different. So for interior, we use 3D photogrammetry. For exterior, we use 3D laser scanner, which is it go longer distance. So for interior, per point, we can range between 100 to 300 ringgit per point. For exterior, we can go to 250 until 400 points. So depend on, but still it depends on the how much accurate of the data you want, right? So at the moment, and also it's depend on the until what end that you want, just the data itself, or do you want us to produce the what we call it 3D drawings or 2D drawings out of the data. So it will be end-to-end service from there. Right. If you ask me, if you have like for single building, like a bungalow size like that, you can go up to 4,000 to 6,000 ringgit. Just to give you some rough idea.
Yeah, thank you for answering. Because I actually dabble a bit on photogrammetry, because I studied at DA, and there is there is a new like open source technology that they are doing right now. So they use Alice Vision, and also you can just use your phone camera and then just photograph like a building and then like put it into Alice Vision. So I was just curious about how much it costs for like a professional service like yours. Sorry, that's like construction around my house. And the next question I would like to direct to Architect Nizam. Sorry for the noise. Because I also worked at an architect firm before, and they tried to implement Revit, but in the end they actually abandoned Revit because they were saying that the line weights were not so easy to control compared to AutoCAD, and also they were like saying that engineers are reluctant to use Revit as well, so they went back to AutoCAD. So how did you like manage this kind of reluctancy? I don't know if you have ever encountered this kind of reluctancy.
Okay, first of all, from your situation, firstly, because of the line weight, is it? So for us, that our experience, the line weight is very good compared to previous 2D software. You don't have, they have already set up inside. They have some built-in. Revit has built-in their line weights. Okay, that you can just use. No need to change another settings. Okay, rather than like AutoCAD. I think, and then we proceed into printing the documentation into A1 size or A0 size. It also very sharp. Okay, so far not have any troubles, any problem on that. Line weights is so good. And then we don't have to do adjustment. We just use the default setting. It's okay. Until now it's okay. Okay, and then the secondly, going into the reluctant engineers. Okay, so far our experience in our project, we try to find our engineers that can do BIM. Okay, first option. Second option is the second option, we go into the value of a BIM that benefit our office. Then we go proceed with the BIM instead of revert back to AutoCAD, because we see the value. It helps in our design and it helps a lot in our productions. Okay, and then we try to. And then another option is we try to engage with another engineering, AEC, MEP, and CNS, which have skill on Revit and Autodesk. So that's our option. I think our main objective, objective is we don't need to revert back to 2D. Okay, we go to 3D to 2D, from 3D to 2D basis method. Right. All right.
If I may it, Yvonne, if I may it, Zame, basically, you don't have, actually as a consultant, you don't have much power anyway towards other consultants. Right. So you need, if you have to embrace the idea, become somebody, either local authority or become a JK or become a client developer yourself, then you can impose to the consultants. Right. So that's why we actually, I personally, or Mizam and other architects, we encourage you become not just an architect working consultants, but also being a developer, local authority, regulators, and any other platforms, so that you can be part of the ecosystem that support that what we are believing in.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. And I also think that like 3D scanning, actually in the Western counterpart, they already started to use 3D scanning for even like real estate. So for people who want to buy houses, they would just walk into the website and then look at the houses first. So
actually, in German, they use it to capture data in crime scene.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when something happened, they capture the data so they don't have to take pictures and whatnot.
Yeah, there's actually an alternative architecture firm that's doing investigations like this using 3D scanning as well. It's called Forensic Architecture, so everyone can just check that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Yvonne. Next, Rashida, would you like to turn on your mic?
Hi, I'm Rashida. So I have a question for Architect Nizam. So I want to ask in terms of time consuming and efficiency of BIM during design stage and into construction stage. Because speaking from my experience working on a hospital project fully in BIM, during the design stage, we already include LOD 300 and there are still changes. Same goes to when coming into LOD 400, which is the construction stage. So we are still changing here and there, and it's not 2D drawing. So changes means new data input, new types, new properties, new parameters, and sometimes we also need to delete that portion and start anew and work within short time frame for amendments. So my question is there a way we can control that? Or because it seems like it's easier to exclude BIM during the design stage. So that's all my question.
Okay. In your project, you have a BEP, BIM execution plan.
Yes.
Okay. I think in terms of that situations, there's still a lot of time involved. Okay, because you still changes, is it? Okay. I think more on that, how you tackle the decision making beside the client side. How is it? I think on decision making part to decide the final model during that stage.
So it means that it's easier to exclude BIM during the design stage, is it?
Exclude BIM. Okay. You can also, but I think you have done very well at this stage. You have that model, but the problem is you keep changing, is it? Keep changing the design.
Because working on a hospital project, you have interactions.
Interaction.
Things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I find it very hard to use BIM during that design stage because changes mean it's a very tedious work. You have to change a lot of things. So how do you explain the efficiency of BIM? Because currently the CNS and engineers don't want to use that because of that issue.
Okay. First of all, I think I can give answer is you have a set of ready-made template.
Yes.
Okay, ready-made template, ready-made families, and then I think ready-made a room, simple, typical rooms for the hospital. Then you can plug in into the design. And that one you need to develop before, I think, or before or during the design stage, to make your progress faster. I think it can help. My answer can help you. Okay, right.
Rashida, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'm actually curious for Rashida. Can I ask a question instead? In the project that you are working now, so if you are only doing the archi part for BIM, or you are actually doing civil, CNS, and M&E part? Because you mentioned that the CNS and M&E engineer does not use BIM. So how do you work in this situation?
We are working on a team. So in my company, we have that coordinator for M&E, and in my case, I'm in charge for architecture. So that's when we face this kind of issue, because normally the design change come from the client. So we cannot do the template beforehand. So the clients, like the KKM, keep on changing things because it's hospital. So it's very hard for us to work it using fully in BIM. So I find it's easier to use CAD because it's 2D drawings. And when everything is fixed, we would jump into BIM straight away because all the informations are there. But during this design stage, when you keep on changing, you have to input like new data, new things. So it's very time consuming. So I'm very curious in terms of the efficiency of BIM during design stage. That's all.
Yeah. Sometimes design stage it will take a long time because there's an influence of the decision making from clients, and then some model before that we don't have the set of templates, set of families, right? Is it? So sometimes the design can take very long time, and then after that, don't left the value of BIM. Keep that modeling in good environment, so that during construction it will speed up. After that, it will help a lot for architects later. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Thank you. Thanks. Next, Crystal, would you like to ask a question?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Crystal Wong. So I have questions for both of the speakers. First, Architect Azizu, can you enlighten us how this 3D data capture is used in infrastructures from Malaysia in terms of like sewerage, water pipes, and also like highways? Because it's used in oil and gas. So, I'm just very curious in a bigger picture, how is it practiced? How is it used for infrastructures? And also another second question, how do you see the potential for this data capture in our arts and culture industry for preserving historical buildings? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Crystal, for your question. Quite interesting question actually. Infrastructure, because I don't explain a bit. I did a talk about the data capture quite some time ago. I think in 2020, about 1 year ago. So, and I did explain a bit. If you have like the session was like a 1 hour session for data capture presentation only. So I explained in a way that how it's benefit the infrastructure, or not just highways, also piping, gas, underground structure, so that part also infra. Anyway, so how it will benefit the system, the other beside building is actually how we're going to use it. The 3D data is actually is to collect data, right? So from there is either you want to plan ahead from the data, either you want to plan to divert. For example, you have we call it bridge, for example, right? So that bridge you want to extend, or you want to, what we call it, create a cantilever. So the data we given will help you to assess, is that enough headroom if you want to extend or add the cantilever out of it. So from the data, you can also calculate or double confirm the load structure load of the existing data, the existing load structure, sorry. So, and then you can identify if you're proposing a new additional load, will that what we call it weaken the structure integrity of the existing building. So basically, it depends on how you want to use it, right? At the moment, I personally don't have on the infrastructure like what you mentioned, road or bridges or anything, but we do have on the TMB piping or TMB wire, things like that, cable. So we collect data, underground data, using one of the tools that I showed just now. So
are we
that tool,
in town planning in the city?
sorry?
Are we using this in a city town planning, like in KL perhaps?
Yeah. It's quite common use to check underground data, underground cable. We use it. So from that machines, we roll on the road, so we can identify either it's metal or either it's gas or either it's have a current, things like that. So from that data, you can produce the schematic layout. It's being used actually, but not in an architecture world. So of course we don't use it much. But I've been working with those equipment before, and currently I think we just finished one. Right. All right, I think that's all. I hope they answer your question.
All right, great. Thank you. I've got a next question for Architect Mirzam. So apart from the line weights and training staffs in the architecture firm or any other firm, how do you convince the previous generation to adapt to BIM? I think that's the question that a lot of us are trying to ask, because all of us here know how to use BIM. We learn it in school. And yeah, I guess that's the question. Thank you.
I think this is tough question because we have also have same experience to convince our bosses, previous bosses. But we tried several action, some action, some demos. Instead of some demos, we present what is values of BIM to the seniors, okay, to the bosses level, and then we show the efficiency of doing 3D render on process in 2D. And then because some of their level, they need to see some factual data, and then we present to that the how we can do better for our project using 3D. So that's how we convince them, and then they agree, and then they can help us and send us for further trainings and further infrastructure training instead of like buy new computers and for our office. Okay, I think some our ways of convince them
through efficiency.
Yeah, the efficiency. We show them 3D first, then how we develop into 2D, from 3D to 2D efficiency. So that the way we convince.
If I may add to that, actually, if you want to embrace BIM, you have to be ready to lose some, right? So for the few years at least, because when I know someone in currently using BIM 100% in the office, right? And when the firm started to embrace BIM, they lose projects for like 2 to 3 years. and then they not use they couldn't deliver the project efficiently as compared to when they use CAD, right? So actually is when, but then when the bosses or the top management decided they want to run through, I mean, to go through all the way with BIM, so the staff will follow. So you need to get that person really embrace and believe in BIM and ready to lose some, right, for the first few years, and then and if you know that person, she's actually kind of I think one of the successful architects in Malaysia doing big projects using BIM, and I think it's wonders how she managed to reach that far, right? So, but then the share is that you're gonna lose some at the very beginning. Yes, actually you have to believe in it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think BIM and 3D modeling and all those stuff are way forward. But we are now in the transition period, which is the hard times we all have to learn and adapt and changes with that. Yeah, thank you. Next we have Zazie.
Hello.
Yes, Zazie.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Hi, Zazie. I actually have two questions, and it's more of open question. I think that the question about, because I think one of the speaker did talk about, let's say, during the pandemic, and then we are working remotely and all that, and then I think like now we are pretty much going back to how we worked before. And I'm not sure in terms of the future of working, whether, should we propose or should we try to propagate the idea to government or industry players to start practice maybe remote working, meaning to say not necessarily 100% of the staff to work in the office. The idea of the office could be very small in scale in terms of the physical office itself, but the way it operates probably, could be, they could have, let's say, I could have maybe 500 staff doing BIM in China, helping my design, maybe something like that. And how that could shape the future, because I think like now all the congestion, all the issues of the city itself are actually the byproduct of the necessity for us to actually be on site, be there, and all that. So I'm not sure in terms of how that could actually be something that is really talking about the future, I mean like remote working and all that. The second question is actually a bit of a critical question, trying to be polemical about this idea of technology, because I think like maybe in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, people are promoting AutoCAD as the future. And at that time, maybe they already have like this conference talking about, oh, you must embrace AutoCAD. Maybe at that time, maybe. So this is the future and all that. All officers must try to change how they work. You must AutoCAD all the way, or 2D drawings lah, like the works or whatnot. And now we are trying to propagate this BIM technology. And maybe 20, 30 years down the road, maybe there's another so-called software or technology that somehow will supersede whatever that we talk about now. So then the question is that I think personally, whatever technology that come into our shore and we try to embrace and all that, I think it's just in terms of skills, management, and tools. But it doesn't really change in terms of what an architect need to know. Like I feel a little bit disturbed if, let's say, like an architect need to master BIM or Revit during school, and at the same time they also need to understand history, theory. At the same time, they also need to know how to design. I think and then they learn within just 5 years. Like I learned architecture diploma and degree 6 years together with Mr. Azwar here. And I don't know, I know nothing about BIM, and I can still survive now lah. So I think like that is something that is quite critical for us to embrace. Technology is one thing, or probably like talking about the future, we should actually look into what Mr. Balkish was talking about just now. Like you have bamboo then why don't you develop the kind of certain materiality or techniques of doing new materials that we could export to other countries? Because beam was not made in Malaysia, so something that locally originally we could look in terms of our own resources and actually capitalize that to really shape our future. Yeah, so those are my questions. Thank you.
Architect Nizam, you are muted.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. From my opinion, okay. I think for BIM is a new technology. Yeah, we going through after this. So it is an option whether you can embrace BIM in terms of value to give good value in your works and profession. Okay, there's no problem. Yeah, we how to say that? Yeah. Okay. For me, I'm seeing this technology is being additional value for us, for me, in our office. Just small scale opinion, small scale overview, not overall overview. Okay, and then lastly, it depends on how you want to drive your architectural profession or architectural mission towards the betterment of environment, or to the betterment of AAC environment. Okay, maybe yeah, we architects, we have different directions. Okay, so never mind, we can go and develop our that directions. Then we can be expert in our later different experts. Later on, let's say our architect previously they expert in bamboo, right? And then like me, I have no idea about bamboo. Okay, but my expertise in BIM, so I go to that direction. But we cannot force anybody, any architects or anyone in the field to go force into one direction or follow just one direction. So they are still free to follow their direction and objective of and what mission they want to achieve in their professions. I think, and then for the remote office, I think because we right now are trending of a virtual office, and then secondly we actually really concerned about our overhead. Okay, overhead of running office. Okay, so far from my point of view, our structure of office right now, we still going remote. Okay, we still go online meetings because after the pandemic situation, we try to get back the revenues. Okay, and then keep the overhead, and then in terms of business overview, in business you must keep your overhead in minimum level. Keep your overhead, because overhead is kill your business. Big overhead is killing your business, and then try to outsource. You can outsource your skill. You can outsource some jobs that you are not expert. Okay, but just take your your expert scope only, and then you can outsource. Maybe you can outsource to overseas, and okay, outsourcing methods. And then the third one is just in idea, you need to be efficient and supposedly focus on your production and doing good architecture later on. Okay, I think I can help. I think I can answer that.
Okay, if I can add on that. What we call it, future on the working remote, things like that. At the moment, we are working at about 220 buildings. 20 buildings that we have conducted what we call it data capture. So all the buildings will be monitored and visited by the local authorities and Bomba and other people, including clients on the paymasters, things like that. So we have 20 data captured for buildings. So when we presented the buildings to the local authority, we can present at any time. We don't need them to be able to go out, or we can have them visit the site even when they are in quarantine. So, and we have that case or situations at the moment. So I think it's quite convenient for us when we introduce this technology to the client or to the local authorities or to whoever that want to visit the site virtually. So, but then of course at the end of the day, it's still limited to certain extent. For example, you can't get smells from the data, right? So you don't know, you can't get sound. If you want to, we can get the sound from that, but then at the moment we don't provide the data, sound data, decibel. For example, we want to hear how the bird sound or the car sounds at certain part of the building. So we don't provide that yet, but of course it can be done. We don't provide what we call it instant checking. For example, like bomber will come, they want to instantly check what's in the ceiling. So we don't have that skills or technology or extend to that level yet. But what we can offer is actually it's convenient for everyone to monitor the site at certain level for whatever purpose that they want. For example, like for the QS, project manager, for the at the end of the day, it still depends on how efficient that you want to what we call it, run your project through using the 3D data sketcher, using the Revit or any other software. Like Mizan said just now, it's about efficiency. So if you can use normal system or walkthrough, or you went to site, is more efficient as compared to what we provide is a 3D data capture, then go ahead as long as you actually providing efficient service to your client. At the end of the day, it's all about that, right? So you want to be efficient, you want to be up to the par, and then of course at the moment, what we're heading to is actually on that sense. I hope that clarifies some of the Hazazi punya right. We can have another
because I think it's actually an ongoing discussion. I mean, like when we talk about future, right, what is the future? For now, we thought that this is the future. In 1992, we thought that wawasan 2020 is the future. Suddenly, 30-40 years later, we thought that it's just the phone, the technology that changed. I mean, like, and probably like you have more developments and all that. So I think like the discussion on the future, of course, like this is probably like part of it. I think like the bigger discussion, of course, not to disregard or discredit whatever that they presented. I mean, like this is actually one part of embracing the future. But I think like if we see technology and then we try to start to impose to students to, of course, this is the new technology, and then you cram everything for the students to be Revit ready when they graduate. But in the end, we know that as architects, our role is more than that, right? So you can get even someone to be well trained in BIM and Revit to actually do that as production of drawings. But I think like to really justify and think and discuss about the significance of the project, whether the relevance of the project, and I feel like all the data, if you have like, we can use the technology or the data, because like this age, right? Like you can actually, I mean, like what I'm more interested is that, let's say, you can use that data like geographical data or demographic data and all that, and to justify, let's say, oh, how can I stop this project that's happening in front of my house, this condominium? And you can actually show data to say that, this is really unsustainable, blah, 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 blah. And even let's say they said, oh, they comply with the PBT requirement or local authority requirement and all that. But then we can show like scientifically, like, oh, this is not, viable, or this is not sustainable and all that. So I'm more interested whether the technology of scanning or BIM and data could actually be used as a weapon for us to justify that. Sorry to take more time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Azadi.
Thanks, Azadi. I would actually agree with Zazi's opinion. All these technologies are just like a weapon to us, and I think for us, architecture education is rather than teaching the students to be very good in one weapon, we should open up a lot of opportunities, train their thinking, or let them to know what are the possibilities which they can use in future. This is my point of view. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Next we have Heffron.
Hello. Hi, I'm Heffron. I'm calling from Doha, Singapore. So just to resonate a little bit on this topic. So actually in Singapore, BIM is actually quite widely implemented here. Like we actually have regulations that every building that's more than 5,000 square meter, submissions of a BIM model is a must. So I don't know whether maybe this is a way that Malaysia can push for that. Yeah. So my so this is more of like reflections and open discussions rather than a straightforward question. So I kind of resonate a bit with Zazi and a few of the speakers that I think BIM implementations, particularly Revit, of course it certainly have added values, but I think there is a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of rather resistant and limitations. What I noticed is that BIMs, especially, they have in my opinion, they have a very steep learning curve. And the way it has currently been taught in school is that I had been a frequent critic to a few local universities, and what I noticed is that students was kind of forced or encouraged to adopt BIM in a way that it limit the way they design. It's like the design has been reduced to fit into what are the possibility of their knowledge and what is capable in their skills and understandings of what the BIM software can do. So to give examples, I always tend to compare AutoCAD and BIM. So CAD, I always say it's like you're making a drawing, so making artworks. If you feel like, okay, the line here is not correct, you just add a line. You feel like, okay, you need the forms there is not that nice, so you just amend it. But in Revit, it's like you have to change the things. You have to go into the components and edit it and do that. So in a way, it might affect the way how students approach designs. It's like things can't be just simply intuitive anymore. You have to work into all those details that in most of the time it reduces the design to a very standardized outcomes. So in looking at that, right, I think I'm not sure instead, and then at the same time we can't deny that BIM is a bad thing. BIM, it helps make our works very efficient. Like we have been adopting BIM from design to end production phase here. So I guess the biggest questions now is that it's not how can we convince the industry to adopt BIM, but how can we change the way that BIM has been taught to the students or to the industries. And yeah, so and the way I see it is that is that BIMs and rhinos and everything, it's a tool, and I would think design should come first and then tool will come the second, instead of relating the two to detect the design. So I mean, this is just an open discussion and thought. So any opinions from the chat to say about it?
I think I can give my opinion. Okay, on the situation for students. Okay, I'm also part-time tutor on a design course, design studio previously. Instead of for students, they need to produce good design. Okay, one statement that I share for the student. Okay, you can use any tools to prepare your design. Okay, whether you're using hand-drawn sketches, okay, never mind. You develop your idea, but you can use Revit or any software as tools to visualize your design for your design production. But the first of all, you need to have your design process in proper way, okay, not, and then secondly, then you use the tools to visualize your design for presentation. I always give advice, some kind of advice like that for the student. Okay, not totally to produce design, you need enforce them to use Revit or any software. so I can you can be at the some let's say the important point is you as a student, you need to have a proper design, produce good design, and then later you can use any tools to visualize your design for presentation. So there's no problem. Okay, I think I can give opinion on that.
And Architect Mizam, Architect Azizu, do you have anything to add?
No, actually, I don't have on that. More on the BIM. So basically, I agree, Mizam. At the moment, I was part-time lecturer as well on the studio, and yes, that's how I see it. When the student came to us as a studio lecturer, so we encourage them to use any tools. Of course, I want to see free hands. First, there's basic skills that you need to learn, but then the production of drawing is depend on them. But then since the places that I taught, actually they start to embrace BIM on, so most of the students are using BIM to produce the final layout or the drawings, basic drawings. But they have few sets of layout, few sets of what we call it drawings. First is the design set, second on the productions basic drawings. But yes, of course, I would like to know how are you guys being taught, are being forced to use BIM in your place? Are you being forced to use BIM right from the design stage, or you have the options, but then you see macam thing like, okay lah, that way use BIM lah. I mean Revit lah kan. So I don't know how other university are doing it, right? But I think what Mizam proposed actually what should be done lah, at least.
Agree with that, because during my first year of study, I studied in University of Sydney. So my first year, we have very strict rules that only can use hand drawing. So everyone is like, no matter how good you are in computers, everyone has to compete in the same field. So everyone has to use hand drawing. So I think the schools, the how the school design the courses is actually affecting a lot on how we teach the students and how what kind of skills that we're learning and instilling on the students. Yes. Hafrans, do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, just I kind of agree in that, but also at the same time, I think like most schools, they don't actually kind of, I mean, I might be wrong, but I think most schools, they don't actually enforce the students to use BIM. It's just that there are times when students was like exposed to BIM, like they are shown to this, like, this is Revit, and then like, wow, this is so powerful. And then they start to adopt it, and of course for their ease and everything. But I think it kind of become clear when, like, especially during final presentations, 10 students was like having their design out there. You can clearly tell like which one has been done with Revit and which one is not. It's kind of like it tends to fall to a certain language of what the students using Revit tends to do, and it often kind of like limit to the way they're exposed to the possibility of Revit.
Agree with that. So I think it's also really depends on the student itself on what because a lot of us, we are like getting very excited with using beams and everything, so we tend to limit our imagination, I would say, because we cannot do something in BIM. So Yeah, I think open up to discussions and forums like this is actually one of the ways that we can discuss with each other on how we are actually thinking and what are the way forwards, which I think it will help to open up the minds of a lot of students, I think. Yes, thanks, Catherine, for bringing this very valid point out. So I'm sorry I have to accept the last question now because of the time limit. So David, would you like to pause your views?
Can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thankful I'm the last person. Okay. This is a question to the guest and also to the moderator. Actually, I'm more curious on the workflow in the company or the firm that incorporates with this beam coordinations. So I've seen from the bio, right, Hefrans and Loie are working in a foreign firm. So do you mind to share like what is the management part of the, in the firm, whereas there are certain sort of a department that only do design, but they're not using any BIM software, or after the design phase until the next phase, only then they adopting the BIM software kind of things. So like to hear you out on that. And for the moderator, Zihui, yeah, you're from Kuching, right? So
yes.
I'm just curious, like realistic speaking, in Kuching, do you think the BIM software is it relevant here yet, or is it like something that we can implement in the near future kind of things? Yeah, so that's my question.
Okay, thanks, David. I will answer first before the other
Sure.
participants share their experience. I think
No
in
problem.
Kuching, our situation is, I'll say in Sarawak generally, we are still in a very infancy stage of adopting BIM. The one of the reason is because a lot of firms in Kuching are very small firms. So we do have very limited people, limited resources to adopt it in our current practice. So, but of course, this is like a trend that we can't really stop from like just acting that it doesn't appear. So we do see a lot of especially young graduates, young architects and young professionals who come into the industry and who actually have the knowledge and ability to do that. So I think this is we will need a bit of time, especially compared to KL or other cities in Malaysia. So yes, so we are in the process. All right. So yes, and also yes, David, you did point out we have a few participants who can share on their experience in their own practice.
It's me, right?
Hi, Louis.
Louis,
Yes, you.
Hello.
Yes.
Is
Yeah,
me?
can you?
Is it me or have friends or
Both.
Both
both?
of you. So,
Okay.
yeah. So you will
Since
speak.
you're all here.
Okay. Okay. I will speak first. Okay. I'm Louis. Thanks, David, for bringing me in. I'm currently I'm based in Kedah, but working remotely with an American firm in Colorado, USA. And basically, luckily, this firm is actually a very small firm. It's just around like it's about less than five people in the firm. And okay, and then mostly I'm involving in the BIM modelings and visualizing works. So basically, most of my works are involving in the schematic phase, which most of the design are already done by my boss in hand sketches. And what my job so is try to visualize them in Revit. But there's somehow I feel like because some of the colleagues are they don't really use Revit. Some are using CAD as well. Some are using SketchUp. So somehow I feel it's kind of like fed up because it's the point of BIM is the working flow, the working process, but it's like a redundant workload that some of colleagues they are going to design something when they have to make some changes, they pass me the CAD or PDF for me to change in the Revit again. So it's like a redundant workload. Yeah, so actually this is the question I want to ask to Architect Nizam just now, but due to the time limit, so I just lowered my hand. So I just wondering, do you still agree that BIM or using BIM or like Revit is not suitable for early schematic stage? Yeah, this is my experience and also my question.
Okay. Can I answer? I can give some option on that. Okay, there's various tools in BIM. Okay, so Revit is one tools, and then you have Architect, you have also Archicad, and then you have also SketchUp. Is it? Okay, and then you can use various software instead of Revit. But at the end, what is your objective of until what objective you use that BIM? Is it until schematic design, and then is it until construction? So you must decide because Revit is actually can be optimized until construction stage. It will be beneficial until that level. Okay, so you can decide. You must decide. But in terms of different software, you can also convert into one IFC file if you want to going back into Revit. Okay.
But sadly, is that I found most of the firms that they are still using CAD and SketchUp together with Revit, which the CAD and SketchUp are the primary use for office, and most likely the Revit is just for the sake of BIM submission. So this is kind of sad case. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. It's quite a difficult situation. I think, I can give option that you must set direction where you want to be your BIM objective until what stage. Then you can plan ahead. Okay.
Thank you, Architect Nizam. Can we, David, just now you mentioned there's another person who would like to share the experience. Hafrans, right?
Can we? Yes.
Yeah, I think Hafrans, would you like to quickly share a bit of how did you do it in Singapore?
Yeah, so here our company is quite big, so it's like almost 100 plus people. So we all kind of like using Revit from start to finish for even like schematic to the end. And in our office, there are a few, we call it like BIM specialists, BIM manager, BIM specialists. So, but although with that, all of our staff, we are actually encouraged to learn Revit. So whenever someone starts new joining our office, if they do not have Revit backgrounds, we will provide like a short 1 week training for them to get them ready up to the pace. And then we just jump straight into the wall. So the role of the BIM specialist here is that they will help us like whenever we have any, it's for us to refer to when we have like more difficult questions like how do you do that and how do you do all these things. So my opinions towards BIMs in schematics, like answering to Louis, is that I think it's not necessarily bad things. Like I think one of the biggest benefits of using Revit is that it allows for work sharing. So usually when our project get big, so that multiple people working at the same time. So Revit actually have these functions that different people can work together in the same model, like part by parts, and it just make it way lot efficient, even in schematic phase. And also Revit has these functions of that you can create options. So that allow you to like explore design in like hundreds of, okay, maybe not 100, like 10 or 20 ways within one same models. So it still has the merits there. And yeah, that's basically how we use this Revit now.
Thanks, Hafrans, for your sharing. I think we about time, I would like to do a quick wrap out, and then thanks everyone for joining us in this conversation and discussions. I really appreciate Masa for organizing and inviting such a wide variety of participants as our speakers. I think this is all very helpful and very insightful, especially for me. And so one of the key point I think from our deduction from our discussion is architecture is not only about what we are looking at for now, and it opens up a lot of possibilities in future. So what we as architects, or our background for architecture and education, I think we are all learning and adapting, and also to be open to what are the options and on any possibilities that is open to us. All right, so thank you. Now I would like to pass the control back to our co-moderator, Vinci.
All right, thank you, Architect Zehui. It was really nice to listen to everyone, and it's really eye-opening to see that there's so much possibilities in architecture in the future. And I totally agree on the recap by Architect Zehui. So thank you everyone for joining us for today's online roundtable. I hope you enjoy it and gain a lot of information and insight. It's really an eye-opening sharing and benefits a lot of the next generation. Thank you, Speaker Architect Azizo and Architect Mizan, and our moderator, Architect Gao Zehui. Thank you for giving us this interesting and eye-opening sharing, as well as a useful advice to the students and young architects. This shall mark the end of our roundtable sharing today. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Hope to see you all in the next section. So do keep in touch with our Masa Instagram and Facebook for the next event and more updates. Do check Archidex online for more awesome events and activities too. Also, if you haven't already done yet, you can also register for PAM membership at www.mypam.org.my. There are a lot of benefits for architecture students that awaits. Until then, have a great day ahead. So before we end this, we shall wave to the screen and we'll have a group photo. So wave, guys. Then we have a group photo. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. See y'all.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for the session.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you again.
Thanks for the speakers.